Today, we'll be bringing you the recap of episode 2 of the series, Blood Sisters. That's right, we continue from where we left off in episode 1, and the story, Boys and Girls, is building. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our recap as we continue the unfolding story. This episode's scene begins with Sarah vigorously scrubbing herself clean as we get flashbacks from the grimy scenes of Kola beating her and the grisly blood-soaked attempted dismemberment and burial of the body. As the two girls drive away the next morning, Kemi asks Sarah to do the next natural thing she would do if Kola were to disappear. Sarah says she would go to their house, Kemi agrees, and Sarah heads to the house. Unfortunately, Uduak is waiting and ready as she sends Sarah packing, calling her a vermin who is no good for her son, who couldn't wait to run away from her. Sarah leaves and goes to see Kemi, where she asks to stay with her for a while. Femi, Timenyi and Uduak are impatient. Timenyi worries about the lack of communication from her brother. Uduak is not bothered. She reminds them that her son has done this before, telling them that he needs to clear his head for a while. But Femi is more concerned about the family business. He reminds them that the vaccination contract is at a critical point where a conclusive meeting with the government requires him to step into Kola's shoes, seeing as he is not available. He says that since he's the eldest son, he should stand in for Kola, but Timenyi counters him, suggesting that she be the one to step in, citing a degree in chemistry and the fact that she worked in the company a lot longer than Femi, and that their father taught her all there was to know about the business. Femi accuses her of being a drug addict and a liability and an embarrassment. An argument ensues between siblings, but Uduak breaks it up. She tells them that they need to present a clear and stable image to the rest of the outside world until Kola comes back. As Femi and his wife step out, they are confronted by Timenyi, who accuses Femi of being behind the disappearance of her brother. The couple ignore her and leave a dissatisfied Timenyi. At the Duru home, both father and mother are desperate and made a bunch of letters of intent to sue. Sarah's mother is on the phone to her daughter. She tells her that the Ademolas have threatened to sue her father for return of all the loans they borrowed from them. She urges her daughter to call them and hurry back ASAP. Sarah quietly listens to the desperate voice note without emotion. At work, Kemi comes in looking slightly flustered. A co-worker notices and asks if she's alright. At a supermarket while shopping, Kemi is accosted by the photographer at the parking lot. His name is Winston Akindele. He introduces himself and proceeds to show her the pictures he took of her and Sarah stuffing the body in the boot of their car. Shaken, Kemi asks him what he wants. Winston replies that he wants lots of money. At Femi's home, during a moment of passion with his wife, she convinces him to get Timenyi, who she tells him is becoming a nuisance, out of the way. Caught up in his passion, Femi agrees. Akin, the best man, arrives at Kola's home. Security guard tells him that Kola has not been home for a week now. Akin decides to look around. In the lonely house, he wonders where Kola might be. Alone together in Kemi's house, both she and Sarah deliberate on what to do about Winston's demand. Kemi tells Sarah that they have no other choice than to pay him. Both ladies head to their various banks and begin withdrawing the blackmail cash. Later at night, at a rendezvous spot, Kemi and Sarah wait in their car as they prepare to meet Winston. He arrives and Kemi takes the money to him, but she returns back to the car looking worried. She says that Winston is asking for the same amount of money again and that he wants it in the next 48 hours. Meanwhile, Uduak is getting worried. She calls Kola's phone and asks him to come back home. At the police station, Inspector Joe believes that something is fishy about the whole case. He tells his superior his feelings and places a bet that he is right. Timenyi answers a call to show up at her brother's house, where the wife, Yinka, offers her a variety of drugs and even cash to step aside and allow Femi lead, seeing as he's the eldest sibling. Timenyi refuses and storms out. She reports the incident to her mother. She tells her that they must have done something bad to Kola. Uduak seems unfazed in a heartfelt plea. Timenyi then begs for a proper chance to do the right thing. Uduak replies that the reason she has never given her a chance is that she's a useless drug addict who has been a disappointment to her from the day she was born and who would never change. Faced with this crushing lack of faith in her, Timenyi resorts to the drugs. Later, Femi and his wife, Yinka, receive a call from someone. Femi tells the person to make sure he gets pictures. After the call, he tells his wife that it's about Timenyi. Apparently, their plan to get her out of the way has yielded success. In a club, a drug-induced Timenyi is comporting herself in an indecent manner. Uncle B, the family bodyguard, steps in and carries her away, but not before assaulting some of her partners in crime. In the family home, Femi shows Uduak pictures of Timenyi's excesses and tells her that they need to send her back to a stronger rehab facility. Meanwhile, Kemi and Sarah are unsuccessfully trying to put together the rest of the money. Sarah suggests they call Winston's bluff, but Kemi says that he could take the information to the Ademola family. She suggests that they take him out as a final solution. Sarah kicks against it, but later decides to hear the plan. Kemi suggests that they get a gun from a corrupt policeman. They arrive at the place. It is filled with commercial sex workers. They ask after Abi, the policeman. Unfortunately, they receive a very old-style reception from the ladies of the night, which forces them to leave quickly. As they leave, Sarah suggests Kemi goes to her ex, Ibrahim, a drug dealer. In Ibrahim's enclave, Kemi tells him she needs a gun. He asks to sleep with her one more time in return for the favor of providing her the gun. Kemi refuses at first, but changes her mind. He tells her that if he ever leads back to him, he will find her. At the next meeting with Winston, once again, Sarah is hesitant. Kemi tells her that they have no other choice. When Winston appears and asks for the money, Kemi produces the gun instead, but he wrestles it from her and points it at her, threatening to shoot. But then, Sarah, who was in the car, drives it and runs him down. Kemi hurriedly gets into the car, and as Sarah drives forward, they feel a big bump. With shock on their faces, they fear the obvious. The car then zooms away, leaving Winston dead on the ground behind them. On their way, they are stopped at a police checkpoint. The usual Happy Friday gift makes a way for them. When they arrive, a figure in the shadows turns out to be Kenny, Sarah's ex. Inside, he tells her that he needed to see her and then asks her what happened to Kola. Sarah says she doesn't know. He then tells her that he just got discharged from the hospital and that a certain fair-complexioned man put him there. Sarah responds by saying that it was Uncle B, the family's bodyguard. She tells him that because of her choice of the Ademola's family over him, she and Kemi are in serious trouble. In a white garment church, Timenyi is surrounded by prayer warriors in readiness for a deliverance session. They eventually drag her away as a stoic-looking Uncle B watches in total detachment to her calls and cries. On the news, Femi gives a news conference where he informs the general public that he will be stepping into the role of CEO of Ademola Pharmaceuticals while his brother is away, and that they are in the final stages of talks with the government regarding the vaccination program. Asked if there have been communications with his brother, he replies that Kola is abroad supervising some of the international operations. Meanwhile, at Kola's grave site, dogs sniff around the site and dig up the body. At the police station, Inspector Joe informs his superior that Kola's body has been found. At the crime scene, police hover around the evidence. At the Ademola home, Inspector Joe gives them bad news. He tells them that since it is now a murder investigation, he will be asking each of them questions. Uduak especially doesn't take the news very well. She screams out in shock. During a private questioning session, Akin tells Inspector Joe about the delay when Kemi told Kola Sarah wanted to speak with him. He suggested that there might have been some kind of pre-wedding argument. Akin ends with a request that the detective find whoever committed the crime. At Kemi's apartment, she informs Sarah that Kola's body has been found. Sarah becomes scared, but Kemi tells her that all they have to do is get their story straight and all will be fine. At the mortuary, Inspector Joe questions Femi about his relationship with Kola. He reveals the body and Femi reacts by turning his face away. He is in tears. In his car, his wife Yinka rejoices. She wonders why Femi feels bad. Femi responds that in spite of everything, Kola was still his brother. Yinka says that he was never a brother to him and didn't give a damn about him. She tells him that Kola got what he deserved and that the situation works for them because they finally got what they've always wanted without having to implicate themselves. Meanwhile, Inspector Joe goes about with his questioning. He questions the security guard regarding the issue of having to drag Kenny away that evening. At the hotel, he requests for the register of all the guests that were there during the wedding and the CCTV footage inclusive. The inspector arrives at Kemi's apartment and begins the questioning. He presents them with information from Akin that said Kola was in Sarah's room just before he disappeared. Sarah agrees. He then asks if they had an argument. Sarah says yes, that they had one earlier. The inspector asks what about, and Sarah says it was of a personal nature. The inspector questions her further and asks if she knows anyone who would want to kill Kola, like her ex. She says Kenny would never hurt anyone. The detective then asks for Kenny's surname. Soon, Kenny is led away by the police in handcuffs. While at the rehabilitation center, Timenyi receives the news of her brother's death via television news. While in her room, Sarah busts in and tells Kemi that the police have arrested Kenny. Kemi seems unperturbed. Sarah is worried that they might charge him for murder, but Kemi says that he didn't do it. But Sarah is still worried. She wants to confess, but Kemi talks her out of it by pointing out that it has gone beyond just the murder of Kola to that of the photographer Winston. Then, Sarah tells her that she has told Kenny everything. Kemi replies by saying that Sarah has just put both of them in prison. Inspector Joe interrogates Kenny. He asks him if he knows who killed Kola. Kenny says no and wonders why the inspector is even asking him. But he does go on to tell the inspector that he knows Kola was a very bad and violent man who lives by the sword and who would eventually die by the sword. At the station, Inspector Joe tells his superior that the hit was a professional one and that Kenny didn't do it and so needs to be released. But his superior replies that until he has spoken with Kenny himself, no one is to be released. At the Ademola home, Uduak tells Uncle B to find whoever killed Kola and make them pay. She tells him to start with Sarah, seeing as the police said that she was the last person Kola saw before his disappearance. She tells him that Sarah knows something about her son's disappearance. In her room, Kemi and Sarah dwell on the implications of their actions. Kemi worries that they will eventually find out she was the one that killed Kola and that they would throw her in prison and waste her life. She wants to leave the country and start a new life somewhere else. Sarah replies, "What about me?" Inspector Joe receives new footage from the hotel. It is one from the parking lot showing the girls lifting the body into the boot of their car. Armed with this new information, the police prepare a team and go in search of the girls. As the police race towards the girls, inside Kemi's apartment, she tells Sarah that she's resolute about leaving the country, but that she can't decide for her. She then tells her that since they've known each other since they were 5 years old, she can't imagine anyone else she'd rather have by her side. Uncle B drives up to the girls' compound and sees that the police are already there. Inspector Joe and his boss enters the apartment and finds the place already empty. Where are the girls? How did they avoid the police on their way out? Where are they going? And will they be caught? Find out all of these and more in the next episode recap. And that's it for today's recap. Stand by on this channel as we'll be doing more recaps of some of the most popular movies making waves in and outside the country. Stay with us with Green Road TV Productions. We invite you to like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more juicy content. Just click on the icon above. It's really easy. See you next time.